All right, welcome. Well, here it is, week 4. Already a month of showing up for our group intention of I want to connect with myself in a new way. So good job. Congratulate yourself on being curious about yourself, about showing up for yourself, and about your inner discovery. And it's Friday. My Friday's fully over. Hopefully yours is close to being over. But home stretch for the month as well. So during this workshop, we've talked about parasympathetic healing and how our nervous system needs some form of balance to counteract this world that we live in. And that movement at its most fundamental level also is vital because our bodies are designed to require fluidity and motion. And that fascia are layers of tissues that affect our physical capability as much as the muscles and ligaments and tendons that we hear and learn so much about. If you have a chronic injury in a problem area that doctors haven't really been able to fix or figure out or answer, it could be that fascia are essentially kind of glued together or powered down. And at least based on my experience, they don't really respond to standard exercise. Sometimes doing something different is the best way to kind of wake them up, really get in there and focus on them. We also covered the fact that energy is a part of our being as much as our bones are. It's actual thing, right? Experiencing energy, even though it's kind of dismissed in our society. So we're actually going to kind of do a small Reiki-inspired exercise as a part of our practice today. And then today we'll discuss how we can support and fuel our health through what we consume or what we don't consume. Because, come on, I couldn't be a health coach if I didn't plug vegetables and whole foods a little bit. So the world we live in has a horrible mentality when it comes to food and its purpose in our lives, right? We as a society eat horribly and consider it normal. We are under constant bombardment from advertising, telling us and reminding us to eat foods and beverages that are not good for us, right? Food companies and product placements put food and sugar and alcohol at every single place that we can turn or look or shop or be or hang out with friends. Like we cannot get away from it. And our subconscious is influenced by that onslaught of material, right? Of sugar and chemicals and all these things that we think are part of our diet. But our bodies are not equipped to process these things, right? We have a relationship with food that lasts longer than when we choose to eat and swallow it. We actually have a relationship with that food until it leaves us. And actually, many days after that, right? There's an impact from that food on our body physiologically. If we're making choices that are not equipping our body to thrive, our body still has to deal with it. And it's going to create an energy deficit in order to deal with it. The body has to deal with the toxins, the inflammation that might result, the insulin that might result. And if the body is creating an energy deficit to deal with the foods that we choose to eat, then it has to take it from somewhere. And where it's going to take it from is, of course, all the repair and maintenance and regeneration that is a part of staying healthy and thriving. So step 1 is simply awareness that these companies are not out to help you. We're kind of in a world that's pretty good designed to just keep us sick, right? Where we eat foods that kind of undermine our health, right? And then we develop symptoms. And then we go to a doctor that prescribes a drug to band-aid the symptom so that we can keep eating the food, right? It's a great business model for them, but it doesn't really serve us, especially if we're struggling with any kind of chronic health condition. So awareness comes from asking, where does this thought come from? Where does this craving come from? We don't have a choice when we don't realize that we're being persuaded. So when you do realize that, they want to make money, I can choose differently for myself, right? That knowing that inflammation, if it's a food that I'm sensitive to, is going to affect my tomorrow. And that we don't have to be influenced if we set different priorities for ourselves. My main desire in life is to feel good and to enjoy activities with my family and loved ones, right? Health is so important. And I place that importance above all the other things like that. So why doesn't our society view food as fueling the health of our body? it really is a good question. It's not entirely clear because in some ways it is so obvious, right? That food does fuel the health of our bodies. Toxins, for example, they're so accepted. There are numerous examples of this, but let's take TBHQ, for example. It's a preservative, meaning it was added to improve shelf life. That's it. It's a derivative of a petrochemical. So think crude oil, right? It's in crackers, microwave popcorn, chicken nuggets, fast foods. It's even in Reese Cups and Butterfinger. It's FDA allowed, as long as you don't eat too much of it. But you know, I have a car, and I like my car, and I appreciate it that it gets me from point A to point B. I would never put a banana in my car engine and think it's going to make my car run better. So why do we think that sprinkling, TBHQ in our body is going to make our body run better? We have so many forms of advertising that are unavoidably coming into our subconscious all the time, that we have come to accept food as just the taste in our mouths, right? Just the convenience or just the price. Think of just for the taste of it, Diet Coke, just for the taste of it? Can we aim a little higher? Maybe have it taste good and be healthy, or at least not hurt us? And then we're not talking about we're not talking about one-offs or splurges, right? I'm talking about what is your relationship, right? What is your main dietary patterns? Those are the things that really matter. And there's more, right? Hungry, grab a Snickers. We just have these reactive thoughts programmed into our heads by advertising. And again, that awareness helps us kind of realize, wait, what is going on here? And is this what I really want for myself? So what is a good diet, in my opinion? Obviously, as you know, there's so many diets out there, and it's sometimes hard to wade through them all. So at the end of the day, it's choose low sugar, whole food ingredients, and foods that allow your body to get nutrients without creating a health burden in the process. And if we engage more with our food, we're investing ourselves and our time into our body and our health. And this actually can become very rewarding. We actually do have a relationship with our food that is very important. And like any relationship that we spend time on, right, our quality of that relationship depends on the time we put into it. Most relationships are not fulfilling or satisfying if you don't make time for them. So value it. Value yourself and value your health. And your body will return that investment. You'll end up feeling better, enjoying life a little bit more, and it'll just feel more full and rich. Our health is so important. And I think in society, we've often lost that reminder of how empowered we are to positively influence our health, right? We have an amazing power to change the absolute baseline of where we are. I believe that health is a range. And sure, I may have been genetically predisposed to get autoimmunity, right? But I choose where I am in that range. And I can be suffering at the bottom, or I can be doing quite decently well at the top. And that is my empowered contribution to that, right? It's not like we have this genetic death sentence when we get a bad diagnosis. We make choices every day to where we are in that functional range. So just because I see something that has been put there to get me to choose it by advertising doesn't mean that I want that for myself, because I'm making my choices on a daily basis through that bigger picture. And I wanted to say something for a quick second about alcohol, because I feel like I'd be remiss if I didn't. Alcohol is another huge example of this. Our society supports and encourages it like crazy, even in business settings, right? It is everywhere. But it is a toxin. And this was the last huge elephant in my health room, that it was the last thing that I was willing to take an honest look at, right? An honest look at the toll that it was taking on my health, given that I have autoimmunity or other health challenges, right? So I've been taking a nice long break from alcohol, and I've been learning so much in the process. And it's been honestly nice to break free from the obsessive craving for a while. So I also encourage you to kind of just look at that. Look at it as a balance and see where you're at and what your body's telling you about it. So another aspect of truly holistic wellness, in my opinion, is also art, music, and creativity. I've said before that this power that we're working on in Koga of proprioception, body-centered proprioception, gets stronger and more interesting with continued immersion in it. It feels to me kind of like a sixth sense when your energy the feeling of your energy can like subtly influence your posture. I find that very fascinating. But if that's true, then I'd go so far as to saying that I feel that creating art and music must be some kind of seventh sense, right? Like 5 years ago, I had zero art and music in my life. I identified as having zero creativity and imagination. I was full on left brain, right? There was no room for anything else. But what I didn't realize is it isn't that I didn't have it. It was that I had blocked it out. I had turned off the flow of it. And now my home is drowning in artwork, and I'm kind of a beginner singer-songwriter, and I'm just having fun with it, and that's what matters. These are always things that I wanted to do, but that were absolutely impossible to me, and just not a part of my reality. But all I had to do was just start, to be in the doing of it, to release control of the outcome. It was often the fear of the outcome, or rather the judgment of a useless outcome, that stopped me from ever getting started. And I see that pattern in other places of my life. I found that doing art and music is very therapeutic. It's not about what you are creating. It's not about whether it's good or not, right? When you're done, it's about being in it. It is very good for repetitive thoughts and anxiety too, because creation and expression come from somewhere different than that. So much of every single day is spent on repetitive thoughts, and at most these do nothing, being repetitive and unproductive by definition. At worst, they add to our stress and anxiety. So try redirecting some of that time into baby steps into creativity, in whatever way calls to you. The use of your own voice combined with sustained breath. This means any kind of singing, any kind of chanting, even holding Om when you're doing whatever, that counts, right? Anything where you're activating this is activating the vagus nerve and is also good for parasympathetic nervous system healing. So try playing with it. Try playing with it when you're alone. Try using your own voice for no reason at all. I think my practice of embodied movement over time helped me open my own door to my own imagination and creativity. Because what is the practice of Koga, right? It's that stepping into timelessness, to learn how to allow pleasure in the present moment and not for an end goal, right? Not for an end judgment. Most of all, learning to appreciate and value baby steps, even micro steps, that it really does not matter how small the step is, as much as the brain wants to make it feel that way. It doesn't matter how small it is. It really only matters the direction. Going towards something that calls you. And if you're going towards something that calls you or lights you up in any way and seems to feel good, then that's a win. And Koga is all about following what feels good. So let's get started with today's practice. Hopefully you are ready to stand up today if you are not already. Today is a standing exercise. If you are in a situation where you feel comfortable taking off your shoes and letting your feet be in contact with the floor, that will lead to a heightened experience, but it is not a requirement. So step away from your desk, start getting a visual on your area. We will be doing this with our eyes closed as always. So take a look around, behind you, above you, especially if you're in the office. Make sure that you're in a safe space where you feel comfortable, closing your eyes and dropping entirely into your own experience. Again, we might be moving the arms some, so make a check on whether you have waters that you might knock over or other things that you might knock over. And then the last thing I'll mention about just scanning the area is that we will be doing some things that might be challenging to balance. Obviously, open your eyes if you ever feel like you don't trust your balance. You know your balance better than anybody. So you do you, but I also encourage you that maybe you'll find that you don't have to open them all the way, right? If you need a little bit, you can kind of just crack them and let in some of that light perception, and it doesn't have to replace your focus, because we want to stay focused within the body. Or you might want to set up where you can have a hand on a table or have a hand on your chair, like if you put your chair in front of you. That way, if you need like a guide, you can just set a hand on something stable. Okay. So hopefully y'all are situated somewhere. All right. So just stand normally, feet hips width distance apart like you normally would. And we're just going to start settling in and trying to unplug that brain from the workday and the stress. So just start by taking some deep breaths in and out. Another nice, slow, deep breath in. And when you push it out, when you think it's out, keep pushing it out. Push it out a little bit more, empty it even a little bit more. When you breathe in, notice how your lungs expand and then contract. And notice how when they expand, you feel your skin rubbing against your clothing. And when they release, other things move and shift. Just start receiving some of that perceptual awareness. Focusing again on our intention, I want to connect with myself in a new way. I'm open to connecting with myself in a new way. And breathing in, maybe placing a hand on your lungs and your heart and thanking your heart for beating and pumping all that fresh oxygenated blood throughout your body. Maybe move the hand to your stomach and thank your stomach for digesting all your food choices today. And place your hands on your abdomen, thinking about your small intestine and your large intestine. Again, thanking it for it has to digest every single thing you eat, and it is remarkably good at doing that. And you have lots of friendly bacteria in there that help extract nutrients for you so that you stay healthy. And just sense into that awareness. And shake out your hips and your knees and your feet and your hands. Just give everything a little shake. And feel yourself starting to ground into the floor. As you let that settle out, just want you to sense into your skin. All your skin. From your feet to your hands to your back to your front. The entire perimeter that you define to be you. Sense into the space within that. Feel your feet and the skin of your feet pushing against the floor. Feel the weight of your body and the force that it pushes against the floor. And I invite you to push your perception into the floor, right? And sense the force that the floor is exerting, an equal and opposite force to support your body and space. Sense out to the entire floor, and you sense the floor of the room around you. Can you sense how the plane of the floor is perpendicular to you standing? Sense the relationship between those. Sense out to the walls of the room that you're in. can you become aware of the space that exists between you and the walls of the room? Sense out to the ceiling. Can you feel where you are relative to the ceiling? I invite you to bring your attention back down to your feet, where your body is being supported by the floor. And now really sense into your feet. Maybe wiggle them a little around, maybe shift your space a little bit. And really sense how your weight is distributed on your feet. Sense into your toes and the balls of your feet versus your heel. And see what you can engage to just kind of support and distribute that weight more evenly around your feet, right? Just evenly distribute the weight. And now sense up to your ankles. And maybe from there, engage the ankles. Like, how would I support my ankles compared to my feet? Kind of building a structure, like a Lego structure. Sensing into the legs relative to the ankles and the feet. Lifting and engaging. Creating space. Almost pushing off of the thing that's below it. As if the feet are pushing off of the floor, and the tops of the feet are pushing off the bottoms of the feet, and the ankles are pushing off the tops of the feet, and the legs are pushing off of the ankles, and that takes us to the top of our hips, the top of our legs, and really focus in on the tops of the leg, the top of the femur, the top of that long bone, and feel where that is in space and how that feels in space relative to the pelvis. And kind of see if you can bring those more in line. And again, lifting off and creating space as if the pelvis was pushing off of the stable base that the leg provides. And you might notice that this alignment shifts from the typical way that you stand when you're not thinking about it. In my case, I'm definitely bringing my pelvis forward because I tend to have it dip backwards. So move around and explore where the alignment deep in the hip socket at the top of that leg bone. Just kind of feel where that alignment feels most supported, most natural. And then bringing our attention into the lower spine, engaging the muscles that support the lower spine, lifting up out of the pelvic bowl, supporting and lengthening, bringing the attention to the mid part of the spine, again, engaging those muscles around the vertebrae and lengthening up along this channel that we're building, right? Think of the space in between each vertebrae. And with your next breath, bring the oxygen directly into those spaces and allow them to inflate just a little bit more. And bring your attention up into your upper spine, engaging up through the front of the chest, allowing your shoulders to naturally rotate back and your shoulder blades to be drawn down your back, supporting the top half of your body. And take a couple deep breaths from this engaged posture. Feel the length and the full support of this posture. And now I'd like you to think about your right foot and your right hand, and your right fingers and your right toes. And then ever so slowly and slightly, start to wiggle your right fingers and your right toes. Do it very slowly. And just feel how intensely each tiny incremental movement can be felt. And then let that settle out. And then think about your left foot and your left hand. And again, ever so slowly, just manipulate them in space a little bit and let all that perception come in. Now try to feel the entire left side of your body. Focus on that awareness as the entire left side of your torso, left leg, left arm, left shoulder. And then sense in to the entire right side of your body. Does it feel different? Just notice, just receive, just feel the energy of it. With the next inhale, sense both sides of your body pulling inward with the breath. And on each exhale, invite that feeling to ebb outward, almost like an ocean wave, bringing the body together and letting it stretch apart. And just take a few breaths like this. And I invite you to sense out to your entire body as one entire whole, that body that is yours, this wonderful body that has shown up for you again and again. Feel how it's always been there for you. And now we're going to be bringing our hands together, but we're going to start very slowly. So very slowly start bringing your two hands up. Keep moving them up, and we're going to slowly be arcing towards the standard like hand clap or prayer position. But keep going slowly until you're a few inches apart. Still going. As you're continuing to move, just start sensing how you can sense where your hands are in relation to space. So once your hands are about some inches apart, right, now go even slower. So millimeter by millimeter almost, bringing your hands slowly together. And the autonomic expectation is that you'll line up pinky to pinky and thumb to thumb, and it's all going to line up perfectly. But you might discover that at this very slow scale, you might kind of lose the feedback of exactly where your hands are related to each other. So just keep working them in and sense whatever there is to sense. Can one hand start sensing the other hand? Can you start guessing where it might be if you don't know exactly how far you are because your eyes are closed? They finally start to tense. Just take it in. Just be aware. And once your hands are firmly together, we're going to start rubbing them up and down. And I'd like you to sense back in to that feeling of the left side of your body and the right side of your body. And envision the left side and the right side as a plane. And I invite you to envision rubbing your hands on that plane, right? This vertical divider between your left side and your right side. And now do it faster. All right, now let that settle out. And as you're still holding your hands together, slowly start to draw them apart. Ever so slowly release the pressure and just like a millimeter, start drawing them apart and pay attention to what it feels like. Can you feel anything in the space between your hands? Do you feel a sense of any kind of a magnetic pull or a warmth or any kind of sensation? No need to judge or label or evaluate. Just what is the energy of the space that is between your hands? Can you sense a difference in that energy of the space that is between your hands compared to the space in the room around you? Now, if you feel or imagine that energy that has been stored in your hands through your focus and intention, think about that and think of a place on your body that could use some extra energy. Maybe you had a slight headache or a sore neck. Maybe you had some eye strain. Maybe your hips felt achy. Just sense a place that could use some extra energy and let whatever place you thought of be perfectly all right for now. And now bring your hands to rest on this place. And allow the energy to flow out from your hands. And now be the receiver. Forget your hands. Be the body part receiving this energy. And just see what you can sense. Okay, shake that out. You might need to, we're just standing pretty stiff, so again, we're always going to want to relax the body if it feels like it's under tension. Shake that all out, maybe bend your legs, maybe rub your legs, rub or massage anything that feels like it would feel good to do so. All right, I'm going to be switching to a little bit peppier music now for second part. Whoops, that did not work. Right. All right, so back again, close your eyes again if you feel comfortable doing so. Again, those comments in my grabbing, right? And then release. And it's more of like a fluting sensation where you play with it and feel that, right? Pick up and that all those points felt really feel good. and the feet are the foundation of that structure. So distributing and applying downward force throughout your entire foot and keeping all foot. Once you feel that feeling where you're really grounded into the floor, it's sinking down from the top of the leg. So we're really trying to create space again in that area that often gets so compacted by sitting. So it's sitting down the top of the leg through those feet, right? How it keeps connected to them. And now lift up inside the pelvis from the layers of fibers that are laying inside the slope of the pelvis. You start sensing into the inside of your pelvic bone. The opposite muscles lift up out of there, right? Creating space and lengthening towards the ceiling. Connect the tops of the legs, the pelvis together, and align things that it feels like a column. It's strong, stable, connected. And just aware of the space that you're creating through this space. You realize we have over 600 muscles in the human body. How many of those are you actually engaged in anything to fully support the body as you move throughout the day? I invite you to transfer your weight to your left leg. Just kind of shift your weight over to that left leg. Now really be your left leg, right? Like a trunk of a tree, right? Fully engaged and supported, lifting off the knee joint, lifting off the hip joint. From the foot to the hip, energetically aligned with the pelvic bowl all the way up to the shoulder so that it's a strong column of power along your left side. And now this right foot, you can kind of stick it out to the side, right? We will not be leaving contact with the floor, but we're going to loosely trace it. So start making a small, 6 to 10 inch circle, just whatever feels right? The size doesn't matter. Just as long as it's small enough to not overtax any one muscle, right? You're looking for whatever feels engaged, right? That's the size. And now slow that down, right? Really slow it down, and you might discover that it gets a lot harder, especially if your eyes are closed. Just try to make that circle nice and slow, and notice the amount of muscles that are going into this insignificantly simple task. Trying to make this small circular shape. And now kind of let that keep doing its thing and focus back on your left leg. What happened over there? Are you still supporting it? What joints have you maybe jumped into while you were focused on making the circle? Right? How's your foot? Are the balls of your feet and your toes still helping to stabilize, this work of art? What about the hip? Is it still engaged and lifted and aligned? Lengthen and lift through the top of the leg bone. Create space where there was none. We're trying to create a stable suspension bridge using every cell from the feet to the top of the body. Not straining or stressing, but simply through engagement. And now let that go, and if that aches, because I know I felt mine, again, we want to kind of like massage that out. If we're storing in something, I'm feeling it in my hip, so take the palm of your hand and really rub with some pressure across all those areas that feel worked out. So that way you can re-release the energy that's stored up in there, and because it feels good. Okay, so let's do the other side. So again, we're focusing in on that right foot and mapping in that foot to the ground, right? We're gluing it down. We're distributing the weight effectively between the toes and the ball of the foot and the heel, and we're lifting up from the ankle and the leg, lifting up to the hip, bringing the pelvis forward into whatever alignment feels like the top of the leg is kind of in alignment with the rest of the torso and everything being lifted out from the pelvis, right? That the lift point in the pelvis is lined up with where the top of the leg is, and creating space from that point. And then sticking out your left foot and starting to make that circle. And now slowing it down. Trying to balance, but also trying to make the circle. Again, sensing into that foot. Is the foot engaged in supporting? Is the hip expanded? Is your upper back still lifted up and your shoulders still back, or have you collapsed kind of forward with your shoulder? Feel how truly amazing your body is, architecturally speaking, functionally speaking, fluidly speaking. Right? So you're pushing that every single layer of the body coming up from the floor can be involved in supporting the structure. All right. Let that all take out. Again, take your palm and relax and release anything that may have felt stored up. Even sit down on your chair if you're close to it and stretch your hips out. In whatever way that calls to you, right? The idea is to make it feel good and to enjoy how it feels to release that. All right, now we're just going to quickly drop into the music a little bit. And I invite you to sink back into your feet. And if you engage your feet, can you dance to this rhythm or express this dance rhythm in any way with just your feet, right? Like that. We have exquisite fidelity in every single part of our body. So you can come up on your toes a little bit or come up on the balls of the feet. But again, really supporting it, right? If you come up on the toes and the balls of your feet, there's a very different feeling if you're just balancing on the balls of your feet, or if your toes are still involved and stabilizing as a part of that balance. And then feel the music and express it any way that your body calls to. It doesn't have to be big as long as it's engaged and lifted. Transferring weight between them, shifting your body weight. But having your legs be fully engaged to the floor, pushing against the floor. Remembering to breathe and to lift. And if any thoughts or judgments come in, just let them go. All right. Take another deep breath in. Blow it all out, and then even more full exhale all the way out. Coming back in and relaxing out and massaging out anything that was starting to ache in a good way. And stretching out whatever needs stretching, and then start coming back into the room. All right, so that wraps our last Koga session, and my advice is just to keep going, right? If you enjoyed going within your body, to have that experience within yourself, keep going. And it doesn't mean farther, and it doesn't mean bigger. It means like just deeper within you. I know the first 2 sessions we had dealt with seating exercises, and if you're in a situation where you can't do a lot of physical stuff, if you have knee injuries or whatever, an exercise ball costs like $20. And if you take that seated exercise and you put it on an exercise ball, you will have an amazing amount of room to play with without, getting into weight-bearing exercises on your bottom half. So you can put on beats that you love, and you can have a blast, even if you have parts that aren't serving you in the way that you maybe wish. So go within, allow yourself the pleasure of simply being there. Allowing time in what you want and in what feels good is the only way to ever get it. We have to do it. We have to make time. And we need movement, right? But we also need mindfulness. We're in a society, the society we're in today is founded on sympathetic nervous response and full attachment to the game that's going on outside of us with all the stress that comes with it. So we need some form of mindfulness to even simply balance our physiology, right? That's why it's so important for our health to meditate and do these other things. We need being in the fabric of our lives, right? We need timelessness. Like these are therapeutic things in our humanness. And I think we need music, right? There's something universal about music, and I think it's designed to move the body. When I was a kid, I loved to dance, and I had lost the energy of it. And through this practice, I've found it again because I'm doing it on different scales. So think about how you liked to move as a kid and take micro steps towards that, whatever it was, right? I'm kind of hooked on this, but whatever makes you want to keep coming back to yourself is the win for you, right? So thank you for your time. I'm not sure if this is universally applicable to all other people. I have hypermobility issues and other sorts of joint and muscle issues. So a lot of the standard ways to try to exercise seem to injure me. So I couldn't sustain it. But this is sustainable for me, even with health issues. So that's why I wanted to share it with people. And it obviously expands from there. This is just kind of getting core. It all starts with the core. Whatever you're doing, if you keep doing it on your own, just always work from gravity. And always work the core first. You need to support the structure before you start working in your far extremities too much, or else you'll dump into those habitual. I don't know if you notice that, but in the spine exercise, like it's a different posture than our normal, like we just dump into certain, like some people like always go to one side, and like we all have ways that we kind of just dump into certain parts of our joints, and it's waking up those areas for us where the most value is. I hope that you discovered that you can connect with yourself in a new way, and I hope that you found the encouragement in yourself to keep going. You know, not necessarily with Koga, but with anything in the same direction. Hopefully I'm inspired you to go and discover something that gives you precious present moments with yourself. And it's also good for mental health and physical health. So it's a win-win for you to invest within yourself. So thank you.